Well, welcome everybody. I'm going to talk on the significance of the mystery of the Holy Jerusalem Temple. And my name is David Cole, and I have a Master Philosophy degree in the Hebrew Bible and the Dead Sea Scrolls. And we're going to divide this talk into three parts. A, the tabernacle and Holy Jerusalem Temple before the first exile. And we're starting actually with Noah. This shows the last sunset before the flood. You can see Noah's family, him on the right, and you can see the ark on the right, and the animals are all going by themselves into the ark. Why it's important is because Jesus said, as in the days of Noah, so it will be before he returns. And there were only 8 people found righteous on the earth then, so we must expect a great falling away, which is mentioned in the Bible before Jesus returns. God made a everlasting covenant with Noah, showing the rainbow, that he'd never wipe out the population of the earth again by a flood. Well, after a few hundred years, we're going to talk about Abraham, and Abraham believed in one God, and God promised him a land and a nation, although he had no son. Eventually he did get Isaac through his wife Sarah, and then God said, no, now you must go to Mount Moriah and you must give your son as an offering to the Lord. And he believed, he had faith that somehow things would still come right. And Isaac was about 30, the same as Jesus was when he started his ministry. And we read in the book of Chronicles that where Abraham offered Isaac, that's exactly where later Solomon built a temple. That was to be the Holy of Holies. So you can see the artist has shown a vision there of the temple, and the angel of the Lord stopped Abraham from sacrificing Isaac. It was a test of his faith. Abraham had Isaac, and then from Isaac we get Jacob, and from Jacob we had 12 sons, but he saw a vision of the temple at Bethel. He said, surely this is the house of God. He saw angels ascending and descending, and he poured oil on the rock where he'd been sleeping, and God confirmed that his descendants would inherit the land of Israel, and they would be the nation of Israel. Again, an everlasting covenant. Then we move on to one of Jacob's sons, Joseph, who was disliked by his brothers, his other 11 brothers, who sold him to some slave traders on their way to Egypt, and he eventually became second in command to the Pharaoh, through God helping him to interpret the dreams of the Pharaoh. And there was a famine in the land of Canaan, and his brothers came, and here is Joseph revealing himself to his brothers, and then they they came and settled with Jacob in the land of Egypt for a few hundred years and became the 12 tribes of Israel. Then a few hundred years after that, God reveals himself to Moses, who had grown up as a prince in Egypt, because the Pharaoh wanted to kill all the Jewish boy babies, but Moses was preserved and rescued by the princess of the Pharaoh. And here we see eventually Moses realized that he's part of the Israelites, and tried to help a fellow Israelite who had been beaten, but he killed an Egyptian and had to flee for his life. But there he comes face to face with God in the burning bush that was not consumed. You can see he hears a voice, "Take off your shoes." You can see his sandals there in front of the picture. And God says he must go back and he must bring the Israelites out of Egypt. And so there are plagues to get the Pharaoh to release the Israelites. And the last plague was commanded by God that the Israelites must put blood of a lamb on the lintel, which you see there, and on the side posts, and then the angel of death will not kill the firstborn of the Israelites, but will of the Egyptians. You can see the Egyptians on the left giving lots of valuable things because they want the Israelites to leave. You can also see the bread there, the unleavened bread. And this became known as the Passover, celebrated to this day. And it was also, Jesus celebrated it as the Last Supper. So the Israelites then miraculously crossed the Red Sea with the Egyptians behind them, who are then drowned. And the word in the Bible here for the sea becoming like two walls on either side of them. The word in the Bible there is congealed. So we move on to Moses with all the Israelites coming to a holy mountain, the Mount Sinai, where he builds an altar with a ramp, and this is a beginning of the temple service. And you can see God is also teaching holiness. You can see the Israelites had to keep their distance. You can then see the elders. You can see the 12 pillars representing the 12 tribes, and Moses going up the mountain, where he's told that he must build a tabernacle. The focus of the tabernacle, it's a portable temple. The focus is to house the 10 Commandments. And this picture shows the women offering their mirrors to build the laver. And you can see the altar behind there. And here are the 10 Commandments which Moses received on Mount Sinai. And these 10 Commandments form the basis of most constitutions throughout the world today. So the Jewish people have been, as God said, they must be a light to the Gentiles. So this is Mount Sinai. You can see the tabernacle in front, and the pillar of fire which guided the Israelites through the wilderness. At night it was a pillar of fire, but in the day a cloud. And you can see all dressed all in white are the Levites. This was one tribe that God claimed for himself. and anyone born in one of the other tribes had to offer, had to be redeemed with 5 shekels. And then we have again a gap of a few hundred years where the Israelites have arrived into the promised land of Canaan, and they have put the tabernacle in that building with the cover over it, and this place is Shiloh, where it stood for 400 years, and this is the festival of Pentecost, to Shavuot, bringing the first fruits. And this is a period in the Bible known as the Judges. We have also in this period Boaz over here, and pointing towards an olive tree. And what this incident is when Ruth was brought back from Moab by Naomi. Naomi married a Gentile husband who died, and then her 2 daughters' husbands died, but then she decided to go back to Israel, back to where the Israelites were, and Ruth said she wants to go with her mother. Where she goes, she wants to go. She wants to serve also Naomi's God, the God of Israel. And here is then Ruth, and Ruth gets married to Boaz, and you see there's the other side of the olive tree, and this is what Paul was getting at with the olive tree, that Boaz is Jewish, and on the right is the Gentile Ruth. And Paul says, but when a Gentile believes in Jesus, then he's engrafted onto the olive tree of the patriarchs. We move on then to the time of Saul and David, and you can see either of them here as the king on the right, and the high priest in front, and then in front of the high priest the ark. And this was the way God answered prayers about the nation, should the nation go to war, for instance. And the way that it's believed this worked, that inside the breastpiece was the Urim and Thummim, which probably were 2 stones engraved with the two Ten Commandments, and which glowed with God's answer. Although the artist is here showing the stones of the breastpiece glowing, instead they were engraved the names of the tribes there. But there aren't enough letters of the alphabet on these jewels, but there are enough letters on the Ten Commandments. Then we move on to David's son Solomon, who built the temple, the first temple, and you see the glory of God came down, shown here, coming down on the altar. We read it actually filled the whole temple. You see the ark on the right, the ark of Moses, after all these years, of these 500 years, being brought in to the Holy of Holies. We see the holy place, and the book of Chronicles says there were 10 lampstands and 10 tables of showbread, in addition to the one table on the right, and the one lampstand on the left, and the one altar of incense in the middle. And we see on the wall are calabashes, and we see the veil hanging now in front, separating the Holy of Holies from the holy place. And this is inside the Holy of Holies, where Solomon made these two gigantic olive wood cherubim, and you see Moses' two cherubim on the original ark. We also see Aaron's rod that budded and a jar of manna. And the high priest is coming in without his breastpiece, because it's the day of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. He's just coming in white garments, and he's bringing in incense into the Holy of Holies, and then he brings in the blood of a bull sacrificed for the priest's sins, and he also brings in the blood from a goat sacrificed for the people's sins, and he is splashing it, sprinkling it before the veil for anybody that sinned in ignorance. You can also see the two handles of the ark pressing against the veil. There we see the sprinkling of the blood on the mercy seat, and this was God's way for everyone's sins to be forgiven. The mercy seat, solid gold, and the cherubim, solid gold, made by Moses. Then, after a few hundred years, that temple gets burned down because the Israelites went into idolatry, and God allowed the Babylonians to deport the tribe of Judah. The other Jews had already been deported by Assyria to Babylon. So now they were all in Babylon, and there Daniel has a vision. He's praying towards Jerusalem. He's asking God to forgive the people's sins. He knows the exile was only 70 years and it's going to be over. And in this vision, God reveals to him that the temple is going to be rebuilt, but it's again going to be destroyed after the Messiah comes. Then we move on to the Persians conquered the Babylonians, and one of the kings married a Jewish lady, beautiful lady, Esther, but there was a cruel man there, a man that tried to have all the Jews killed because he wanted them to bow down to him, and Mordecai, Esther's uncle, refused, only bowed down to God, and then he resolved to kill all the Jews, and Mordecai wrote a letter, which you see here in Esther's hand, telling her that she is in the palace, she must do something about it. So she said, everyone must fast for 3 days, and then she went in, and we know that the king then said the Jews could defend themselves, and they won a victory, which is commemorated in the festival of Purim to this day. That's the end of the first section.
Okay.